Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome once again to another exciting episode of Faces of Resilience. This is your host, Furley Almonte. Listen, every single time we come onto this show, we always bring a guest that would bring to us very inspiring stories of resilience. That's the whole idea of Faces of Resilience. You are the star. Your story is the life lesson that we want to share with the world. Hopefully, somebody out there listening in right now would be able to learn from it, get inspired, and move through in life with a lot more resilience and confidence. Today is not even, um, today is not, how do you say, today is actually not ordinary by any means because my guest is actually super special. I was trying to find the right words for it because I just met him very recently in a virtual networking event. And let me tell you something. It was love at first sight because it's so easy to fall in love with his spirit, his vivacious personality, and also his wit and wisdom. We spoke like we'd been friends forever. Well, I was even more floored when he shared with me what he's been through in life. I thought I had it bad, but let me tell you something. I also learned from him the different challenges that he's had from childhood as he was growing up as well. Going through different kinds of addiction and also going through many different traumas in life. I'm sure you will find your story from each and every single one of them. And the worst part is, he lost it all in a massive wildfire in California. Where do you actually literally begin to pick up the pieces and start over when everything you've got is gone? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me brag a little bit about my guest. Okay, first of all, I've said, like, he's very artistic. He's a visionary, and he's also a philanthropist. His personal journey involves adversities from childhood trauma, sexuality stigma, and a destructive wildfire that took everything that he's got. Um, he serves as a living example of resilience and perseverance of the human spirit. But he is a lot more than what he even shared with me. And you will find out why I fell in love with this incredible man. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Miles Berdache Lynk. Hi, Miles.
Hello. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. The only thing that I am going to correct is the fire actually wasn't the worst part. That was actually the rebirth.
Oh, wow.
So,
And I'm sure you're going to share with us
yeah,
that. I love how you reframed it right away. That
yeah.
is so beautiful. Well, you are in, where are you right now? Las
Um,
Vegas.
I'm in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Las Vegas, and I am in New Jersey. Look at this, from coast to coast,
I know.
very, very connected. How's the weather out there right now?
It is finally comfortable. The summers here are like, oh my God. I'm not a fan of the desert, so I moved here for work reasons. But there's things that I do love about it here, but the desert and the heat is not one of them or two of them.
Actually, it's kind of like, well, it's already 5 o'clock, but it feels so dark here right now because it's been raining because of some leftover storm or tornado that was coming from the south, and that's the reason why it feels kind of icky. It's clammy, and so it's not very vibrant right now. But of course, our spirits basically is what brings the light and joy into our surroundings. It's a choice that we make, right?
Yeah,
So just like what I said, I just met you recently, and there was an
we
incident.
did.
Yes, I know,
I
right?
know. It feels like, and we were just saying this yesterday when we were on the phone, that it's only been, what, 2 days, and it feels like we've known each other forever. It's like, yeah, we've been on the phone like innumerable times since then, texting each other
Yes.
on social media, and it's like, yeah, it's
Your
like,
husband and my wife actually got to know each other as well. We met, and it's so beautiful because we also are in a community that is so loving and so connected and so willing to actually lift one another. And I love that. You are obviously full of wit as well, and in your ideas when we were in the virtual networking, because you were giving so many different ideas on how to market, our services and our product. And then of course, that was just the icing on the cake. And then of course we got to talk, and we talk about, like, the adversities as we've been through in life that actually shaped us to who we are right now. That's why it's like, oh my gosh, I'm very seldom lost for words, but today I was like, I don't even know how to describe you, because you are so different. You are very different in so many.
I've gotten that before. Not usually in the meeting and in a nice way, but I've gotten that before.
Yeah, because like you broke the mold in so many different ways. Okay, like, first of all, my question to you is, before we go to your really back story, like, if you were to describe your,
It's not a bad story. It's only mine. Like it's I think people, like, we put too much emphasis on good and good and bad. I believe all of us have a story, and some people have gone through worse traumatic things than others, and others have gone through, but all we have to we only see the filter through our own experiences, right? So my story isn't by far the worst that I've ever heard, but it's not the easiest either. It's just mine, and it's the only thing that I have to see the world with. So yeah, I don't think that I have. I don't think that I have a bad. I don't think that I have a
there's
bad.
really no scale.
Yeah.
There's really no scale as to who's got it worse. It's not really a competition of who's got it bad. But that's why I love what I do here on Faces of Resilience, when I give people a platform to share their story, because each one of us have our own.
Mm-hmm.
And many of our viewers right now will find their own story based on the little nuggets that we will be sharing with them, because their story will come in a different form,
Yeah.
different scenario, but the lessons are pretty much the same. And so, as I said, like, not, and we don't have basically the same circumstances, of course. And so it is a great way for you to be able to share the little things, your whole journey through your life. And then the people will say, like, oh, that came into my life in just a different way. But
Mm-hmm.
and then it's a great way for them to reflect on, how did we overcome that, how did we move past that, damn, what was I thinking then? Because how
Yeah.
many times did I actually say to myself, like, what, like, I keep saying to myself, if I was the kind of empowered person that I now am, back then, my life would have been different. My choices would have been different, right? But the whole point is that that was part of our learning. That is part of our metamorphosis. That's part of our transformation. And so, which actually brought to the question I wanted to ask a little bit earlier, because it was not easy to describe you, as I've said, because you're different, because you're in the world of beauty, empowerment, you're also in artistry, you're also in marketing, in so many different aspects. But if you did not have all of those titles next to your name, who is Miles?
Well, that is a darn good question. But first, I want to address something that you just said. You said that if you knew how resilient you were back then, I think the only difference is today you know you're resilient. It was still there because you made it through those things, right? Which I believe. I don't believe I had a choice to be to be resilient or not resilient. Like, I think that it's just part of my. I think it's just part of the human DNA, and we either choose to accept and move forward, or, I laugh about it now, but my mother used to tell a story that when she was pregnant with me, the first 3 months, the doctor was treating her for a tumor. So she always called me her little tumor.
I've never heard that before.
And then like he was finally on, or she, I don't know if it was a male or a female doctor, but I know the doctor who took over was female. He was on vacation or she was on vacation. Another doctor took over, and she came to my mom and said, your tumor has 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. We need to stop this treatment immediately. So I feel like from even the womb, they were trying to kill me from even the womb. Like, and my spirit was like, no, I have things to do there. So
That is
I
not
think,
done with me yet. I'm still forming.
right. It's like, and I always say, well, maybe that's why I'm only 5'2". Actually, I just found out I'm 5'3". Actually, my whole life I thought I was 5'2", and I'm actually 5'3". It's exciting. But you asked, who am I? It's the corniest thing in the world, but the most beautiful thing I've ever heard is, how does the saying go? I'm a human being having a spiritual experience, or no, I'm a spirit being having a human experience. That's it. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. That's. Does any of us know I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know what I believe. I know what I don't believe. But who am I? I'm a creation of God. I'm a perfect masterpiece of the Creator. Yes. Just as you are, just as everybody else is. We're here trying to figure it all out. And, I heard this woman speak once at a recovery conference, and she said, she talked in like a raspy Southern voice. And she said, my grandmother told me everything I needed to know at birth. She said, you drop out of the womb and you cross hostile territory to your grave. that's just kind of, that made me laugh so much, because
it's beautiful. Yes, we are.
It's beautiful and tragic and true, and all of that stuff. And
I love that magnificent child of God, basically.
I'm a magnificent child of God, and there's nothing wrong with me. I try to think that there's things wrong with me. I try to second guess, myself all of the time, but I have to remember that and I'm not a super religious person. I don't believe I'm a religious person at all. I believe that I'm very spiritual, but I don't believe in what most people identify with religion. But I don't believe that there's anything created on this planet that was by mistake. So why would I be the exception?
That's a beautiful way of looking at it. So talk to me about the times that you thought that you were not perfect, like those times that
this morning. you mean this morning when I was trying to get out of the damn house and make it down here before, and when I was fighting with the internet before we got on? Yeah, like then. It's just.
Well, you have a long string of adversities. Give me a snapshot, like a trailer, so to speak, like a 3-minute trailer of what those are, and maybe you can share different lessons as you went through them.
Oh, you're gonna have to repeat that, because I lost the beginning part.
Now, I was saying, like, if you could give me a 3-minute to 5-minute trailer of the different adversities that you've been through.
Oh.
And the lessons that you learned in between, I'm sure people would love to learn about what you've been through.
Well, I think with any, one, being gay in this country is not easy by any means, particularly in our generation. I think, I was just in Saks Fifth Avenue yesterday, off Saks Fifth Avenue, so the outlet version of Saks Fifth Avenue, and there was this young Asian male couple, like young, like to me they looked 12, but they were probably at least late teens, early 20s, holding hands, walking through the store. And it was beautiful, but I so badly wanted to go up to them and say, you have no idea what our generation went through for you to have that right, for you to be able to walk through here. Like, it's just like, it was beautiful, but at the same time, it made me reflect over the growth that the gay community has had. So that's just one thing out of many. I mean, I was the only child to a single parent who was also an alcoholic, and so growing up with alcoholism and being the adult way before I should have been the adult. Um, all kinds of stuff with that. She was married 7 times,
Wow.
in and out of abusive relationships. Got to witness all of that as a young kid, terrified in my room, hearing them fight. Just all of that stuff. And when I'm asked, like, what did you learn through all that? I learned.
You became also an alcoholic. Was your mother being an alcoholic had anything to do with it?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I know that you've struggled through alcoholism and drug
Well,
addiction. Would you say that your childhood trauma has a lot to do with those?
who knows? I mean, there is definitely a genetic code to alcoholism, but at the same time, I think there's also a learned behavior. But yeah, who knows? I mean, I know people in recovery who neither of their parents drank, but they found out later that a great great grandfather was an alcoholic, and so you don't know. It's just it's one of those things that it's just what it is. Like, you can try to figure it out, or you can just make the decision that figuring it out isn't as important as moving through it.
So, during the time that you were having the addiction with the drugs and also with alcohol, what was the pivotal moment of your life that actually you said, "Okay, enough, I'm changing"? I mean, talk to us about that time.
Wow. Well, mid-20s. So I think I got sober in my opinion, really young. I've met people who've gotten sober younger, but I think 26 is a pretty young time. At the time, I didn't. I felt like I had been here forever. But it wasn't. I mean, I had a pretty bad bottom looking back on it, but it was more emotional for me. Like, I could no longer stand the sight of me. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't like anything about what was going on in my life, and I knew I couldn't stop drinking. And when I first got sober, I never had an intention of stopping drinking. I just wanted to get rid of a little cocaine problem that I had. But soon soon found out that one goes with the other. And so yeah, mine was a little bit more of an emotional bottom. And really, like, we say in the 12 rooms of 12 steps that um, what was that moment of clarity? And my moment of clarity was really as simple as a fight with my best friend. Like, it really was that simple. Like, um, we were in a fight, and he stormed out of my apartment and slammed, right before he slammed the door, he said, "You're never going to be anything more than a drug addict and an alcoholic." And that, like, that was what woke me up. And I just kind of started laughing. And my roommate at the time was like, "That wasn't funny, Miles. That was kind of mean." And I was like, "No, he's right. I've been looking for the cure this whole time, and there's no cure. Like, I can either be a practicing alcoholic, or I can be an alcoholic in recovery, but I'm always going to be an alcoholic." And I think that is the same for all adversity. Like, I can either be a fire victim, or I can be a person who went through a fire. Like, I can either be a child of an alcoholic, or I can be a child of an alcoholic who overcame his own addictions. I can either be child of sexual abuse, or I can be a man who worked through the issues around sexual trauma. Like, so I think that that goes with any part of our life, right? Like, you know,
Uh-huh.
my mother was also a product of domestic violence, and you know, she could either be a product of domestic violence, or she could stop going out with men that were going to take her down that path. And she didn't do that. So she, like I hear oftentimes, we hear it more in the rooms of 12 steps, but
What is that 12 steps? Is that like talk to us about what that is? Like, is that a program that you had to enroll to be able to recover from? I'm not familiar with that.
you probably are. You just so I'm trying to remain anonymous to protect the program, but
Okay.
it's Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay, so you have to go through a 12-step program to be able to begin to make new choices and embrace new beginnings.
I
So
wouldn't say you have to. There's other ways that people have gotten through recovery. I I found success through the 12 steps. So
that's beautiful. I love, first of all, I love what you have shared about it is actually our choice because we either want to be labeled as a victim or do you want to be labeled as a
oh, I
warrior?
hate yeah, and I hate the whole fire survivor or yeah, I've always hated that term because so I went on this spiritual journey in
Okay, before you go there, talk to us because I know that something happened obviously with your home. So
uh-huh.
talk to us a little bit about what happened and with the fire, and then start from there and how it brought you to a whole new chapter of your life.
Oh, well, what I was going to say about Sedona, though, was before, way before this happened. I kind of went on this spiritual journey with this shaman, and I told him that I was a incest survivor, or not a sexual assault survivor. And he said, I'm going to challenge you to stop using the word survivor because whenever you use the word survivor, you put yourself back in the victim role because you can't be a survivor unless first you're a victim. And at first that made me really angry, but then the more that I've thought about it, I'm like, that's kind of true. Like you can't be one without being the other. So that's what I have a problem with when right after the fire, even up till now, everyone, he's a fire survivor. No, I'm not. I'm triumphant over a fire.
I
I
love
walked
it.
through
Okay,
I
so
walked through a fire.
everybody
But so
listen
you
to
asked
that.
what that so the
I love.
fire
Wait a
was
minute before you move. I love that because that is like a great aha moment. How you reframe a survivor to becoming a triumphant. What did you say that?
I'm triumphant from the
Over
fire.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So changing the words, reframing the way you identify yourself changes the way the world perceives you. Right?
Mhm.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, so you wanted to know the fire experience. Is that what you
Yeah,
were?
yeah, yeah.
Um, it was the most surreal thing that I've ever been through in my life. But the one thing that was really well, there was two things, but one of two things that were really present the entire time in my mind was how quickly life changed. Like it within 90 minutes we were being evacuated. Like it just happened so quick.
Okay, when did this happen and where did this happen?
Oh, it was the California campfire of 2018. People around the world kind of know it as the Paradise Fire because it took out the town of Paradise, and that's where we lived. It didn't 100% level it, but 80% of I think 80% of the town was gone. And woke up like little plume of smoke, and then within 90 minutes it was like, you've got to leave. It's like, so it was just how quick life changed.
What did you grab during when you got the announcement? You have to leave now. What did you grab? Talk to us about what you were thinking. How did it feel?
You don't know. I mean, you don't know. I grabbed my laptop because I knew that whatever was going to happen, I wouldn't be able to bounce back without my business, and my business is on internet. So I grabbed my laptop. I grabbed my ironically enough, my singing bowl. I grabbed a couple days worth of clothes, and I actually at the last minute, I don't even know why, but I grabbed just like a little makeup case. Like I don't even know why
Okay.
Well, I was a makeup artist at the time, so I mean, so that to me that made sense.
Your livelihood, basically, you prefer.
Right. It was like I might need this. I might need this. Oh yeah, and something spiritual. I'm definitely going to need this. So, I mean, looking back on it, I wish there were other things that I would have grabbed, but I think everybody who's been through that experience will tell you the same thing. Like, oh, I looked at that on the shelf and I was like, no, I'll be back for that. Like, and yeah, so, yeah, it was really surreal, but so in order for me to tell that part of my journey before the fire, like right before the fire, probably about 6 months before the fire, like I was completely miserable with life. Like I didn't like where we lived. I didn't like our living situation. I contemplated leaving my marriage. I didn't like where my career was. I didn't like where my bank account was. I didn't like the car I drive. I didn't like the clothes. I liked nothing. There was not one thing about my life that I appreciated. And I'd go to all these seminars on, getting out of that. And they said, you have to be grateful for what you have now. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, I hate everything in my life right now. Just get me out of it. And I remember as loud, like that, the 90-minute thing was there, but then the voice as I was driving out of paradise through flames, like fire on both sides of the road. I remember the thought, okay, everything you thought defined you is now gone. What's going to be your excuse now? And I was like, oh, yeah, all that stuff that I thought I was miserable because of is gone. So now what? It's no longer an obstacle. So what are you going to do now? Yeah, and I talk to people all the time who are like, oh, I don't know if I could have survived something like that. Yeah, you could, because none of us woke up. None of us woke up the morning of November 8th. It's actually coming up here, the anniversary. None of us woke up November 8th and thought, the only thing I haven't been through is a fire. Maybe we should do that today. like nobody did that. I promise you, nobody did that. And yet we just responded and got out.
So how were you different now? How did you become different from the fire, having recovered, being triumphant? Being triumphant.
Well, that's a journey, I have to tell you. I still have periods of PTSD, particularly when I see like fires and whatnot on TV, or in a movie or anything like that. Usually, I have to just kind of close my eyes until that scene passes. So yeah, there's moments like you just look at things different, and everybody's like, so me telling you my experience may be very different from somebody else who went through the same exact fire. Like, I can only tell you what I've experienced since then. And some of the things that I've experienced since then is one, fire is very triggering. And making large purchases is very triggering because
Hmm.
I see it reduced to its basic element of ash. And I wonder, do I really want to pay that much for that? So,
Yeah, that's really a very big lesson as well. You know how we put value into material things.
oh yeah. Like,
So,
right when we went back up, I'll tell you, when we went back up and saw, so we lived in my husband's parents' home. And it was a nice, simple home. It needed some, upgrades. It wasn't the prettiest house on the block, but it was cute. It was a house. Right next was like really modern, beautiful rock fireplace, all redwood. I mean, just this beautiful home. And when we went back, they both looked exactly the same.
interesting.
They were both gray. They were both just, ash that was probably about yay deep. They looked identical. And that was an eye-opening moment. It was like, all that. And I don't want to say shame for living in that. I never had shame for living in that house. It was more the situation of what was going on in the home. I loved the home. I just didn't like the situation in the home. But seeing it like that, it was like, huh. So it doesn't matter money, no money. Everything was equal.
So what do you say? What if you had to share with our audience three life-changing lessons that you've learned through your trauma, through your addiction recovery, through your fire triumphant, like story? What would be the three most impactful lessons that you would like to share?
Well, I would say one is we can't help but be defined by our experiences, but don't let others define you by your experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that would be one. Two is, by far, we're not promised tomorrow. So we're not even promised the next 5 minutes. So if you're waiting to do something, don't.
Stop procrastinating.
Yeah, and I still, being completely honest, because I'm sure there's people on here who know me and they're sitting there going, "But you're still putting shit off, Miles." Yeah, I am, but I constantly have to remind myself that life can change in 90 minutes. Like, so what do I want this 90 minutes to look like? And I think that's why talking about it helps too, because I do forget. And I start getting in that, kind of going back to that muscle memory of, not feeling good enough, not feeling smart enough, not feeling, worthy enough, all of that stuff. Because you can't just stop that. Like, you can't, it takes a process. It takes time. It takes work.
How
And
about putting value on material things?
not really. No, do I still want material things? Yes. Do I think that they're important and gonna give me happiness? No. Like, I still want nice things. Like I just told you, I was at Saks Fifth Avenue yesterday. Like, I still want nice things. I didn't buy anything, by the way, because I go window shopping a lot, but it's hard for me to make purchases these days.
I think one of the reasons why by the way, one of the many hats that I also wear is an image consultant. And so that's why I love, also the part that I love about that is that I get to spend other people's money,
Yeah.
because it gives you a little bit of a fix because you're shopping, but of course, it gives you an outlet for your artistry,
Yeah.
and how you transform people's life, and you get to spend their money. Actually, I love your lessons because, even for my own experiences, because for those people who may not know, I actually was disabled for over 10 years because of an occupational hazard exposure. I've been through a divorce. I've also found love. And actually, within 8 months of my wedding day to my late spouse, actually, I lost her to pancreatic cancer within 8 months of our wedding day. And, I've been, I've been through deep financial hardships because of my disability. Yet I was able to rise above each and every single one of them. And there are still times that you go through different ups and downs of life, but just like what you said, the choices you make basically change the trajectory of your life, because life is all about choices. It's either you identify yourself as being, oh, say for example, you have like a cancer. Are you going to always be defined by as a person with that kind of disease, or do you want to show that, listen, I've triumphed over this, and I'm here to change the lives of others and inspire and bring hope, whatever it may be. And so that is the whole reason why I actually have become a global resilience leader, because I've chosen to basically spread my message of hope and resilience,
Yeah.
and bring people like you, inspiring people like you, to share with the audience your different stories, that your each one of us, we're a lot alike. We just have different stories, different challenges. How it differs is how we handle our tragedies, our adversities. How do we move past them? There's no way that you can undo what's done. Okay, but how do you reinvent? How do you morph from all of those? You are now creating different, you are also, obviously right now you are in artistry as well, in makeup artistry, and you're also very involved in philanthropy, right? In terms of helping people,
Yeah.
is it like childhood labor, right? In India, that you are part of, like
Oh,
you.
no, no. So a couple of the organizations that I belong to, they have they are very heavily active in women's issues and child labor issues. But yeah, I don't. That's not what I do for a living. I wish that would be. That
But
would,
but your heart is also in it, because you
yeah.
support causes like that. So exactly, what do you do for a living? How do you change people's lives?
Um, well, I show mostly women entrepreneurs how to align their visual message with their brand messaging when they're taking their message onto video. So I've got a background in makeup and hair and styling for commercial and print work, so a lot of advertising. And so I'm bringing that knowledge to what really works in your video and what doesn't. People who aren't in that world um, think that it's about their message or it's about their service or their product or their brand. It's none of those things. It's about how your audience feels the results are going to be like, and you have to visually like paint that for them. So I show entrepreneurs how to, basically, I say I'm the queer eye for your business guy. And
I, I love that. You see, well, right now, okay, let's face it, when you are out there, if you are an entrepreneur, it's very important that you can speak confidently and look well also on camera, because the way you are able to articulate your brand and your message, and also, the value that you bring to people's lives, is very, very important, because unless you're able to do that effectively and feel confident enough to be able to share that on video, that is really a very good foundation of how you would be able to impact more people, because if you yourself do not feel comfortable or confident appearing on videos to be able to share how you change lives, there is no way that you'll be able to, right? And so you are helping people, communicate with confidence on video. And quite frankly, he gives a lot of tips also, even with makeup. Like he gave me a few makeup tips. Even like I'm made up differently today because of what Miles have shared with me during our one of our
Really?
conversations.
How so?
Oh, okay. First of all, you told me not to connect the end, because I said like my eyes feel like they're
Mm-hmm.
squinting, and so
Mm-hmm.
you told me to just put it at the bottom so that
Mm-hmm.
it's more open. Also, like the concealer. And quite frankly, I'm not wearing a darker lipstick today because I'm actually, more like natural, so to speak. Like, and it's so beautiful because typically I would not wear even the eyeshadow that kind of like rose like a deep, how do you call that, it almost looks like a rust color with
Mm-hmm.
like a rose tone to it. Typically I would not even wear that because I've always like maybe the smoky color. But I said,
Mm-hmm.
why not, I'll give it a
The
shot.
soft smoky look.
What's that?
It's a soft smoky look.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it actually right now on the camera. It's like, I like the way I look because it actually, if anything, I feel fresher and younger, and do not look so made up. So that is like, okay, that's already a big testament of what Miles does for people like us who are actually always on video, who do podcasts. And now let's face it, the way of the world right now is virtual marketing. There is no other way that we can do that right now,
Yeah.
especially during this pandemic. So the more confident you are, then the better the more you can do a lot more videos. And so thank you very much for those tips. I love them. I feel more comfortable. And also we purchased some products also that are healthier products from his beauty corner.
Yeah, I work with a company. It's not my business what I do, but I also provide beauty counter products to people who need or want more cleaner beauty. But that's it's kind of a separate business from my camera ready business. But they work well together. So
So now that you have morphed into an amazing new beginning, despite what you've been through in life, right? And so now, like I love the fact that despite what you've been through, you were able to create your business. I love that you actually save your makeup kit, and so you can continue to do what you do. And also the choices that you make, that yes, you can still appreciate finer things, but those things that actually just basically have been reduced to ashes, it was a wake up call for many of us, right? And so, and
yeah,
quite frankly, regardless of what you've been through in your family, in your childhood, that is no longer you now. It is time that you refrain the way you believe in yourself, in the way you are going to be. Basically, begin to design the life that you want going forward. And I love all the lessons you've shared about our lives are not promised today, tomorrow, the next 90 minutes, even. And also how we begin to decide how to label ourselves. And so with that, it's find that resilient story in you, okay? Because you will find that in your life you've been through so many different adversities. It may not come in a very very dark package, for instance, but you would find that you've had challenges, you've risen above them. Tap into it. You actually have resilience muscle in our body, and it's up to us to uncage that superpower in us. Miles, it has been a wonderful
thank you.
afternoon to have spent that, sharing your story, inspiring others, and also begin to also share with others, mostly entrepreneurs out there, that you can also begin to look more confident, be clear about your visual messaging. And if that is something that they would like to also learn from you, Miles, how do they get in touch with you? Where can they follow you on social media?
Oh, well, you can always look me up on social media at Miles Berdache. I think, is it Miles Berdache or Miles Berdache Link? My personal profile, I can never remember. I think it's just Miles Berdache. But then you can also search for Camera Ready Crew, Camera Ready Crew. And you can always reach me at miles@milesberdache.com, or you can check out camerareadycrew.com and contact me there.
Woo! All right. It has been such fun. I know that we will be friends forever. We're here to actually like empower one another
Yeah,
and make changes in lives in more ways than we probably never even imagined. So thank you so very much. I
my
hope
pleasure.
to be
Thank you
hanging
for
out.
asking me.
Yeah, and I hope that I get to hang out. Me and Christine would get to hang out with you and Richard. Hopefully, very soon when
Oh,
this
we're going to, definitely.
because my sister actually and her husband actually do have a house. They have just relocated to Las Vegas, so I know we will be going there. When when all of this pandemic thing is has cleared from the air and it's safe to travel. Okay. Well, thank you so very much. Have a
My pleasure.
fabulous rest of the day and make your day and your life spectacular. Until then, this is Furley Almonte from Faces of Resilience. Take care. Bye bye.